for encouragement and tips and sparkly new buttons to push across social media. We love supporting you in your journey. And today is going to be a fun topic because we are going to be talking about LinkedIn does not equal your resume, and Instagram does not equal your highlight reel. Back in the day, this is exactly what they were for, but guys, things have switched up. We are an ever evolving creature, just like these platforms are ever evolving. And you want to make sure you are able to show up in ways that you want to be seen for, known for, all of the things. So I am going to hand things over to Stephanie after I introduce myself, and then she's going to introduce herself. And then we're just going to get started and have a great conversation. We would love to hear from you, any questions you have, any ideas. We want to hear what you think about this topic, especially because I think a lot of people are like, why do I even post on LinkedIn? Anyway, so my name is Elizabeth Doss, and I am a social media consultant whose phone is blowing up currently. And so I'm going to throw that in the floor. And but I also am an animated GIF artist, and I help brands create their own animated GIFs to be able to use across no, Elizabeth, across social media platforms. If you're curious about bringing joy to your community and harnessing your thought leadership through animated GIFs, please reach out to me. I'm going to hand things over to Stephanie, and we're going to get started.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Welcome, everyone. Listen, okay, kick it off. Yes, I'll do the whole. I'm Stephanie Gillis-Paulgard. I'm the brand architect behind Take Roots Consulting. I help brands, businesses, nonprofits tell their story both in the traditional ways, PR, marketing strategies, all of that media stuff, but also, wait, now what? Social media. Yes, it's included in the way we reach out and connect to our community. What's interesting about today's topic is exactly as you said, Elizabeth, off the get go. What these platforms once were is really no longer. And so, how are we able to show up and leverage these platforms that are available to us for free, okay, for free in a proper way that establishes credibility, allows people to see a little bit about who we are in our personality? Because at the end of the day, what I always say, people do business with people. This isn't new, this isn't breaking news. This is what it is. So, how are we showing up and utilizing these platforms? And what we discussed today, we hope that you can also apply to the other platforms that you find yourself on. I want to kick it right off, dive right in, talk about LinkedIn in the sense that most people, when I'm scrolling through, still continue to use it as this static resume idea, meaning that they're updating job titles, right? But they're not sharing what they're learning, what they're building, or what they're thinking about right now. And this is a great way to start conversation online, which may result in taking it offline and diving a little bit deeper. So again, it's wonderful, and I do love to see when people are sharing that they've achieved another certificate or taken another program. That is establishing credibility for sure. But what are we learning right now in our business, in our role within a business? So often, times we're talking to entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, but even those that may be watching this on the replay or watching it right now live on LinkedIn. How are you using this platform to build community? How are you using this platform to talk about what it is that you're thinking about right now? Lots of people attending conferences. It's conference season. Everybody's trying to get a lot of things done before they take summer holidays. So what is it that you're leaning into right now? Why not share that on a platform like LinkedIn and use a call to action? Invite people to get involved with a conversation. Ask a question at the end of your post. We can't forget, yes, it should be a two-way. So I just want to leave it there, or at least kick off the conversation with, you can and you should celebrate the learnings that you're doing, other achievements or other jobs, positions, volunteer or otherwise that you're taking on, and utilize that to update your LinkedIn profile. But what are you putting into your feed that allows you to establish credibility, be considered a thought leader in your particular area of work? So again, what are you learning? What are you building? And what are you thinking about right now? start showing up that way to drive conversation on LinkedIn. And now I'm going to pass it back to you, Elizabeth, so I can push some buttons on this end.
Exactly. And I think that people show up on LinkedIn and you kind of sit there and stare at the blank canvas. I've been thinking about this. The enemy is the blank canvas. And that's true for artists as well as people trying to post on social media. What do you even say? What do I even have to say? And I will always nod back to Sean Walchef for this, that to document, just document what you're doing, because there are things that you're doing throughout your day that people may, as they're reading, they're going to find out, oh, I actually need somebody who does that thing. Or I was talking to a friend who's looking for someone who does the thing, and you're showing up and just saying, hey, I'm doing the thing today. So for instance, I do a lot of video editing, and maybe people don't know that I do that. So when I post a picture and say, yeah, grinding out, the video, the content, today, even though please don't ask me to do video editing. This is not a commercial because I don't want to do anymore. Um, but it is not my favorite, which is probably not your favorite either. But I just wanted to say that when we show up and show what we're doing, it starts to give people that kind of behind the scenes part of things, and tell the stories of kind of what you're working on or what's going on or how you approach this one problem, etc. And so it's a place for you to give behind the scenes of what you're working on. Now, I was looking, Steph, at this idea of the 80-20 rule, and because I think people get a little confused about what they're supposed to be posting. 80% of what you post on LinkedIn should be related or some way able to bridge into your career or your job. Like it should show skills that you have in the workplace or other events that you're going to, clients that you're connecting with. Um, but if you'll think about that, 80% should be work related, but 20% can be more hobby stuff, things that you're into, because you're kind of giving that whole person version. You just need to weight it a little bit more in the area of your job and your career. Because one thing that they've been finding is that people are, when they go to Google someone that either they're looking to hire for a position or maybe it's a B2B situation, they're when you Google them, a lot of times their LinkedIn is the very first thing that shows up. And so you just want to make sure that there's a well-rounded representation of you that's available, so that when someone's coming to search for you, they're gonna find you. And hopefully, we're just gonna go ahead and recommend this, that you just go ahead and Google yourself every once in a while to make sure that you're showing up in the way that you want to. But because LinkedIn is such a high visibility platform, a lot of times your LinkedIn is going to be on that first page if someone is trying to find you or learn more about you. So you want to make sure that you're getting to tell your story and someone else isn't. So I'm going to hand it back to you, Steph.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this a lot regardless of platform. So, yes, we've honed in a little bit on LinkedIn and Instagram for today's conversation. I think what I'm going to say, again, not breaking news, just a friendly reminder to not talk at people, talk to them. And this is why you can still take a conversational approach, maybe less, depends on who you're working for. I'm talking to more that solopreneur, trying to reach out, trying to build that community, less corporate speak, less over polished. I do try to take a conversational tone. I mean, people do know Stephanie loves, her caffeine, not just in the morning, but throughout the day. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty high energy person, but I try to keep it conversational. It tends to land a little bit better than if I'm going back into the days of the corporate world, but it depends on who I'm talking to. Again, I need to know my audience. I need to understand what it is and why I'm actually showing up on whatever platform it is, whether we're talking about LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, doesn't really matter. Just keep that in the back of your mind. And again, a caution, everybody gets, not everybody, some people that I've worked with or had chats with, we talk a lot about social media and this notion of chasing vanity metrics, chasing the numbers. If you're not thinking about relationship building and only looking for those numbers, then you know what? Your content's probably going to land a little differently. So I would like to just remind everybody that it's more important to think about those meaningful conversations. You can start a conversation online and certainly invite people. Again, some people want to have time to think about a response. Sometimes the CTA is simply like drop a fire emoji if this resonates with you, but also invite them to learn more about you off of social media in the DMs. Invite them to take a look at your website, invite them to send that email. So, Elizabeth, as you were saying before, like some people maybe don't know, and not that you were doing a commercial for it, but that you do a lot of video editing. It's one thing that I will do within platform, but I don't want to spend hours doing it in CapCut or other, platforms, other, applications. And so I'm like, hey, if I'm looking for that person to help me, to assist me in showing up, like I can shoot the B-roll, I can have all of the content on my phone. We know that I have a lot of photos and video on my phone, but I don't have the time necessarily. But if I'm intrigued and I want to find that person to help me build that side of my business, I need to know that that's what you do. So to invite that to learn more about me or my services or my products. So it doesn't have to come across as salesy. It's how do you add value to somebody else's journey? And so that's what I guess I'm suggesting in whether regardless of platform. Show up, have meaningful conversations, invite conversation to happen both on and off the platform. And you never know where it's going to take you. It is actually surprising how many people will reach out to me after months, sometimes years, of following along and already, then they're like, oh, I'm ready now for you. Like I've been watching, I've been waiting. You have to give them a reason to reach out.
Exactly. And the other opportunity stuff that I think that we have with LinkedIn is to position ourselves where we want to be. You may be operating in a job right now where you don't necessarily want to talk about what you do because that's not what you want to do. But how could you start creating projects, having conversations, commenting in the arena where you want to be? And so thinking through how can I think through this. And if you're hesitant about posting on LinkedIn, one of the easiest places to go or do this is staying up to date in the relevant market that you're in. And so um, if you'll read the articles, if you'll follow those types of people on LinkedIn, et cetera, you can repost those articles and add your thoughts or your 2 cents on it. And so you can start establishing knowledge in that particular neighborhood for whatever you want to talk about without you having to create the content yourself. So don't, you see that a lot. People will just grab the article link and then they'll just comment about it and add it to the thing. And so it is a great way for you to kind of show up, but it also keeps you knowledgeable so that when you show up in the comment section, you have something to add or to continue, a deeper conversation than just a surface level thumbs up. And so how can you stay relevant in that way? So I'll hand it back to you, Steph.
As you're talking, I'm typing out some things, and I just want to remind again, it's about the be visible, but be human, right? Ask questions, start the discussions, share your insights, share your lived experiences. This is what connects people. I wanted to maybe shift a little bit, although a lot of what we talk about applies across platform, what people might be getting wrong on Instagram. And, we talk a lot about trends. And is it important to jump on the trend without context? How do you use a trend to your advantage? And Elizabeth, you've done this really well. And I thought maybe I'd throw it back to you about, no, you do. You really do, in the sense of it's not the dance moves, but it's what I see you do often, and this is actually a direct result of the work that you do with your clients, is you remind them to be able to tag you. So they may be doing something that's on trend. They may be able to utilize a GIF that you created for them. And what you often do is remind them and educate them to what? Tag you in that piece of content. And so again, you can then repurpose it with maybe that trend in mind, or maybe another way to establish yourself as, hey, look at what I do. So I just wanted to give you an opportunity. I know I broke it down a little bit already, but what you do in your process to be able to work with your clients and remind them how to do that, because a lot of people, they don't realize that that's a whole other piece that will allow their content to show up to another audience.
Yes. So we one thing that we make sure we do is um to tag locations, tag the actual accounts, not just the locations when we're doing crossover, because you can cross pollinate those audiences, etc. Inviting people to tag people that might want to see it, saying send this to your bestie if they want to know it. And so there's ways that you can encourage and also attach these moments to be able to be seen across the platforms. Now, you had said in the description of this that Instagram does not equal a highlight reel. And back in the day, Instagram, you could now what's interesting, Steph, I do believe that there is a little bit of a how you cycle back to these things. When Instagram first opened, it was all these blurry pictures of people running through their lives. Like, it was not these highly curated photography sessions where you have the wind blowing in your hair and all the stuff. So it's so well. So in your statement, you said it's not your highlight reel, which means you're only posting the best of moments. The moments where you're on the yacht and you're by the Ferrari and all the things that people love to do and try to say, this is my life. No, honey, your life is a hot mess and you just spilt your coffee everywhere and, all those things. And people love those behind the scenes because they can relate more to the hot mess than they can to the super curated thing. Now, if you are a luxury brand and those other things, you may not want to dip into reality too much, but you as a person have this ability to be vulnerable with your audience in a certain way, to show them the behind the scenes, to invite them to join the conversation, to share their own experiences with whatever. But it's this bridging the gap between um, what someone needs and what they want, but also how you can help them. And so you're kind of juggling this whole thing. And so, Elizabeth, what are you trying to say?
With
What
these
I'm trying,
interesting moments, I think that's what you're trying to say, right?
yeah.
Is to show that it's exactly, that's what the downfall of social media is, that that's how it is perceived by people, that it is this highlight reel and that you're only showing me all the glam. Well, entrepreneurship is not always glam, it's hard work. Being a business owner is 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Give yourself some boundaries, give yourself some grace. But by showing those in between moments, those behind the scenes pieces, Elizabeth, again, you do this so well when you're showing, this is what my client asked for, and this is what this is what I gave my client, right? They give you words, and you create beautiful, joyful gifts for them to use. And I love that, because it's that before and after. It also establishes you as like, oh, she's the gift queen, right? Like, you need to talk to Elizabeth if you want customized gifts. And this is how, because you teach them how to use them. So it is a beautiful way that you use a platform like Instagram. It's very visual. We know that, right? You can use it in a whole bunch of different ways because there's neighborhoods within Instagram. There's the feed, there's the stories, there's the reels, there's the, live components, but being able to move content around and know that people consume content differently, you're able to do that. So the what you're actually working on helps you establish and show people your services without selling them because you're showing them the value, and also talking about or showing up to celebrate the small wins. We talk about it. It doesn't always have to be a, hey, I just landed the biggest client of my life, although do celebrate that. It's what did I accomplish today or this week or this month or this quarter, but also the lessons learned. And I'm guilty of this as well, right? It's head down, do the work. And and then you pop up and you go, okay, yeah, maybe I should talk about X, Y, or Z that I did. Not just because I celebrated 10 years last month. It's a lot has happened in 10 years, but a lot has happened this week or over the weekend. And so, how do you again document and share it in a meaningful way to invite conversation so that it's not always just this polished, pretty highlight reel, but it's you. Sometimes it's in the weeds, and sometimes it's the celebrations, and sometimes it's the celebration of coming out of the weeds, if that makes sense. Back to you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, and this there's this understanding this. Stephanie has talked about this for a very long time. Understanding the nuances of the platforms, but also the nuances within the platforms. So just like LinkedIn is 80/20, is about your career, 20% about hobbies. Instagram has its own version of that, in the sense of the reels and the posts and the carousels that you create should be a little bit more curated and finessed. But on the stories side, they can be much more raw and in the moment, and you're showing people the behind the scenes of your day. So you're taking them along with you. Now, Stephanie, one thing that people have been seeing work well, which is, this to me sounds like so much work. Rather than just posting like a quick snippets of stories where people have to watch multiple stories, people are editing their stories into a longer they're taking like the stories of the day throughout the day and making and chopping up that video so that the story that's uploaded is actually a very short, it's just a quick highlight reel of like behind it. So it's basically a reel, but that's a story, but it's a hot mess a reel, if you will. Anyway, but one thing that people are doing is that they will uh, send people to the reels. So like maybe they give you only like one little, it's the whole cake pop theory in a different way. They give you a little behind the scenes of a certain conversation, but then they're gonna say if you want to watch the whole conversation, go to this reel. And then a lot of times they'll go from the reel and say if you want to watch the full conversation, go over to YouTube and watch the longer, piece of content. And so it's this idea of understanding what you're supposed to do in what area. Just sharing your reels to your story isn't technically what stories are there for. Stories are supposed to be people getting to know you and the little like idiosyncrasies of your day. And so anyway, I was just thinking about the nuances of understanding how the platforms work and making sure that you're showing up in a way that is native to those. So I'll hand it back to you.
Well, I completely agree with all of that. And I guess, as we talk about what a platform is not, I also want to make sure that we're sharing about, to your point, what it is, what are stories, how should you be using this? Reminder, right? Friendly reminder again for Instagram and what's working and what really always has worked. You need to keep doing it. Reply to the DMs, right? Leave voice notes if you're more comfortable. I love leaving a voice note. I find it's more personal. It's a way to check in on somebody. It's a way to leave that tip, answer a question, comment with maybe a question, invite or engage with them differently and more than just emojis. And this isn't just about what's happening on your feed. If you're really trying to build community, drive conversation, establish yourself as somebody that has some, some experience in some areas. When you're jumping in on somebody else's content, leave that message in, start the conversation there. Remember that the comments that you leave on somebody else's content is viewed by all the people that are following them. So again, it's this way to show up without being salesy, but actually going, yeah, you know what, I agree. This has been my experience. And so you're able to start to share a little bit more about you. When, again, you can invite people to a conversation to, hey, if you have a thought about this, send me a DM. But just remember, it's just as important for you to be commenting and engaging on other people's content than just worrying about what's happening on yours, because that does not work. If you're really trying to build community, it's not just about push out content, push out content, push out content, and cross your fingers and hope. It is to build community, go on to other people's feeds, not just again on LinkedIn or Instagram. It is TikTok, it is Facebook. This is social media. No surprise, it's called social media for a reason, to invite people to be social. That's the whole premise of why we show up, and the fact that it's free and it gives you this opportunity to connect with new people, attract new people into your community, which they may end up becoming clients down the road. Don't forget that one piece. You also need to engage.
Yes, that's really, really good. And the understanding that you can watch other people in your same industry vein, yes, your competition too, or thought leaders that are in your area, and do a hot take on what they're doing. Like, so if you're completely lost in what you're doing, go ask ChatGPT who is the leading expert in fill in the blank your area of marketing expertise, etc. Go search that and then start following the content that they're creating. And then either you can do a green screen where you're talking literally about what they're saying, or you can just repurpose it into your own words and say, I was thinking about this the other day, and address maybe those things. And also go into the comment section of these thought leaders and see the questions that people are asking, and go answer those questions. And you could take a note of that person's name, send it to them privately, and say, hey, I saw your question on so and so's thing. I have an answer, and if you'd like to check it out. And so it's a way for you to kind of do that. So anyway,
And
I
who
can't
knows,
believe,
that may
yeah,
lead to a collaboration.
right.
Again, we don't always need to think that somebody that's in the same space as us is a direct competition, right? I truly believe there's enough for all of us. And and this is exactly the idea, that we, just like Elizabeth and I, complementary to what we do, we work on things together. And it's quite nice as a solopreneur to know that there's other people that you can bounce ideas off of that have a similar background to you. So again, when you are starting those conversations, just remember it is about showing up to be yourself. And if you can offer value, well, let's be honest. It all comes back to the value. People want to understand how you can help them along the way. Well, as we come to time, I just want to say, every time we pick a topic, I feel like we could dive in for hours. We just start to hit a note, and then we go, oh my gosh, how did 30 minutes go by? That's why you need to keep coming back every Tuesday. On Cultivate, we tackle yet another topic. If you have ideas, questions, thoughts that you want us to tackle, feel free, reach out, send us that DM. We love to hear from you. Again, it's an idea that we started a couple of years ago now. Went from an audio platform to right here on streaming live. What? Pushing all the buttons. So we show up on LinkedIn, Riverside FM, and YouTube every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Mountain, at 10 a.m. Eastern. I want to thank each and every one of you for being a part of this week's Cultivate Weekly. Cups up To you, Elizabeth, and to everyone out there, we'll see you next Tuesday.